Making a Murderer,
Netflix
and chill.
Hello and welcome to Netflix and Chill, where we check out Netflix series and tell you what we think about them. This time we're getting all spooky, so we turn on all the lights. Yes, we are going to the sequel to The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Now, I will say we enjoyed Haunting of Hill House.
That was excellent.
We loved that. So, when I heard there was going to be a sequel to this, I had two thoughts. First was, how are they going to make a sequel to Haunting of Hill House? And two, I'm really interested to see what they do in making a sequel to Haunting of Hill House. And then we got Haunting of Bly Manor. Not quite what I call a sequel to Haunting of Hill House. It's just another haunted house. So, what is the story behind Haunting of Bly Manor? Essentially, it's a haunted house. A young American female is hired by a rich British fella to look after his niece and nephew. I guess that's the right? His niece and nephew, who are now orphaned and living in Bly Manor. They also have a cook, a gardener, and a housekeeper, I guess is what her position was. And so she's hired on, and yes, she decides, I will take this on. I need the money. I need stuff, and I was a teacher, so this fits perfectly into my skill set. Of course, she also asks, why has nobody taken this position? To which he replies, well, you just come and work and see. So she does. And then people start seeing dead people. Of course, the kids always see the dead people. Everybody else, not so much. But creepy things start happening at Bly Manor. And eventually, like any ghost tale, it kind of have to, figure out why there are these ghosts. Where do these ghosts come from? And how do you solve the whole haunting? Right? Yeah. So, the film, or the series, has multiple directors. Multiple. Some of them doing 2 episodes, some of them only doing 1. I need this phone, buddy. First up is Ben Howling, who did 2 episodes. He directed Cargo as well. Kieran Foy did 2 episodes. And he directed... come on, load. He directed Citadel and Eli, which we covered in the 2019 31 Days of Horror. He also did The Fairies of Blackheath Woods, Sinister 2, and he had bit parts and other stuff. Liam Gavin also did 2 episodes, and he's the director behind A Dark Song. Also, 2 episodes, Yolanda Ramke, who also directed portions of Cargo, as well as Cold Hearts. Axel Carolyn. I don't know too much about her, but she has been involved in such films. She didn't direct, but was involved in Tales of Halloween, Doomsday, Centurion, and she wrote Soulmate. She was also in Don't Kill It, A Reckoning. So she's done a lot more, it seems, acting than she's done, directing and stuff. 1 episode was directed by Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan is the writer behind Doctor Sleep. Yes, Stephen King's sequel to The Shining. He's also a writer on The Haunting of Hill House and this one as well. He was also the writer behind Gerald's Game. So, more of a writer, less of a director. And finally, 1 episode was directed by E.L. Katz, who also directed Cheap Thrills and was involved in an episode of ABC's of Death 2, as well as a few other things. I think he did Channel Zero. I think he was also a director on that, on at least an episode. Writers, again, multiple writers. Mike Flanagan, like I said. Henry James, Diane Ademu-John, Julia Bicknell, Michael Clarkson, Paul Clarkson, James Flanagan, Leah Fong, Rebecca Kingle, Angela Lamanna, and Laurie Penny are all getting writing credits on this. Now, I'm guessing, now they all say one episode, but Mike Flanagan is the main writer. He's the creator, actually, of the hauntings. So it's not surprising. It's his idea. So who do we got in? I think that was the girl. Was that the girl that was hired?
Yes.
Okay, so the American that was hired is played by Victoria Pedretti. Now, she was also in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She was also in The Haunting of Hill House as Nell Crane. Odd, I guess, where they were doing was it like American Horror Story, where you're bringing back same actors doing different parts. She also was in the New Amazing Stories, and Soul, and she is... I guess the next two main characters would be the kids, right? The kids would be probably the next two main characters. First one, the girl, Flora, played by Emily B. Smith. She is best known as Peppa Pig. The voice of Peppa Pig. Go figure. She's also Daisy in EastEnders. If you're a big fan of BBC drama type thing, EastEnders, she's Daisy in that. And that's essentially all she's been in. The brother, Miles, is played by Benjamin Evan Ainsworth. Now, I don't know that he's been in too much. He was in the film The Recycling Man as the character Jacob, but that's about it. Now, other main characters are obviously the father of, or the uncle of the two kids, Henry Wingrave, the essentially controller of the fortunes, of the family fortunes, played by Henry Thomas. Now, Henry Thomas, you probably know him best as Elliot. Yes, that little young kid from E.T. is all grown up and is now in horror movies. Or horror shows. He was also in Legends of the Fall, Suicide Kings, Stargirl, Dreamcatcher, Dr. Sleep, he played the bartender. And all sorts of other things, like Gerald's Game, where he played Tom. Also of note are the other help. Jamie, the gardener, is played by Amelia Eve. Now, she was in Big Boys Don't Cry, Enterprise, Men's Santa, Nicola, A Touching Story, Feed the Beast, a bunch of stuff I've never heard of. But, yeah. She had probably one of the... Though it ended up being a major aspect of it come later on, she didn't show up until, like, several episodes in, right? Like, we didn't really see her right off the bat, did we?
I can't remember if she was in the first one or not, but even the first time you see her, she was just there for like
just briefly, and then she's gone. The housekeeper, Mrs. Gross, is played by, I'm going to butcher this, Tania Miller. I hope I said that properly. Now, Tania Miller has been in episodes of Doctor Who. She was in the film Obey, Sex Education, The Feed. If you saw that, that's a genre thing. Dark Heart, you may have seen that. Again, a bunch of stuff we don't really get up here in North America. And then the cook, Owen, played by Rahul Kohli.
Cook.
The cook, yes. Who plays Jack Spear in Supergirl, the Supergirl TV series. He was also Ravi Chakrabarti in iZombie. Outside of that, he's done voices in Harley Quinn and The Rocketeer. I knew him from iZombie, so. Now, there are a bunch of other characters and ghosts and such like that, but we won't really get into that. Yeah. Thoughts, Leslie?
It was not good. And it's not even like I went into it thinking that it would be as good as the Hill House. Like, no, obviously it's not going to be as
Probably
good as that.
not, but
I was expecting a lot more, and because like literally the Hill House, like so much going on.
And it was scary.
Yes.
Hill House was scary, man. Like,
this was like boring. There was like nothing going on, and even the stuff that was going on, I was just like, really.
Yeah, this was the not really haunting. This was a drama of sorts, where the haunting, though there are ghosts, the haunting seemed to be more about your past demons and overcoming your past demons. Like you were haunted by your past more than anything. Mm-hmm. And this seemed to be for every single character in the show. Like everybody, they had to tell these backstories about them and show you why they were haunted or why they were like the way they were, or how they came to be there, etc., etc. So the haunting kind of had dual meaning in this program. But yeah, it does come off way more like a drama series than it does a horror series. And that was uber disappointing. I was like, after Haunting of Hill House, I was like, okay, bring it on. Okay, it's a different haunted house. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Cool. Different series. Let's do it. And then the ghosts, they're not scaring people as much.
And that little girl, I swear to God, if I heard her say that perfectly freaking splendid one more time.
The show is not perfectly splendid. Yes. The kids were less annoying than I think they could have been.
I found her very annoying.
Considering, they're supposed to be the rich kids and, they're young. They do come across as kind of know-it-alls. Which kind of works because they can see the ghosts and they know about the ghosts and they know what's going on. So in that sense, they are more knowledgeable than most of the adults. But at the same time, they could have been a lot worse. So though they do play up a little annoying and they do play up, a little bratty, it isn't to the extent that it could have been. So, I mean, I particularly, I didn't really have too much of a problem with the Perfectly Splendid, but it it was said a little bit too often. A little too often. It was kind of cute when it was first came off. It was like, okay, this is thing, okay, fine. But then it kept coming up, and it kept coming up, and it's just like, don't really need to hear that all the time. But yeah, what did you think of essentially the climax, the solving of the ghost story itself?
I thought that was stupid too.
It was. I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, even with the Hill House one, like I really, really looked forward to. Okay, we gotta watch the.
Oh yeah, we watched until we had to go to bed. Like that was like we had to watch it. Like there was the next thing. She was just like, "So we're watching Hill House, right?" You know, the next day, every day, it's like, "We're watching Hill House." Yes, we'll watch it. We can, you know, we did it during the 31 Days of Horror, so it's like, yes, fine, we can postpone it. Don't worry about it. We can still make up the films. It's not a problem. This one, on the other hand,
I didn't
it was
keep watching
it was kind of a chore. It was.
At first, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it just takes a little bit to get into it. So fine, give it a chance. And then no, I didn't like the stuff that was going on that I can't talk about. But I didn't like that. I didn't find that.
Yeah.
And this sounds stupid that I didn't find it realistic because okay, it's not. But you know what I mean. But it wasn't something that to me I would be like, oh yeah, okay, sure, that could happen. No, it's stupid.
Yeah,
and
I
that
get it.
bothers me.
Essentially, they without going into too much detail, there's a kind of, we'll call it superpower that revolves around your mental state as well as the ghostly type things going on. But it's almost like meditation in a way. But yeah, it's taken to a very, very different level in this film, to the point where when it comes to, you know, gets closer, you know, the climaxing point of the series, it starts getting really weird, like really weird. So I didn't care much for that. I also didn't care much for the amount of flashback type stuff to try and tell these backstories, which we really didn't need. Like, we have the teacher coming out who's haunted by her past. Irrelevant. It was irrelevant. We didn't, like, and she's haunted by ghosts. She's seeing ghosts, which I don't think were ghosts. I think that was all in her head, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in her head.
Right? But it's presented like it's a ghost. And, well, maybe it is a ghost. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. But yeah, she's constantly seeing, like, she's mentally unstable, but it seems that a lot of people in this, including the ghosts, are mentally unstable. And not in the I'm haunting you because I'm really mad kind of way. They're just like, yeah. I wasn't too keen on anything about that aspect. What I would have liked, which is one of the things that was introduced in the film, so the girl has a dollhouse, which is an exact replica of Bly Manor. And in it, she's got essentially little dolls of all the different ghosts and all of the people who are living there. And at one point, she brings up, you know, like, no, the doll has to be where it is. It can't get put away. It has to be there. So it must have something to do with one of the ghosts, right? But it's never really explored. And all of these different ghosts that you see in her dollhouse, never really explored. I think some of them you only see at the last episode. Like, and they're really, some of them were really kind of cool looking, but they don't really show up. They don't do anything until the very end, and you're like, but so why? Why even have them? What's the point? Like, there was so much haunting that could have been happening in this series, and it just wasn't. It was all about people and coming, you know, to acceptance with their past and their past ghosts and demons and yeah, there was too much of that going on and not enough of the ghosts. That's all I have to say. Right? Well, there you go. We're in agreement completely. Who would have thought? Doesn't often happen. But yeah, so there you go. We are. I don't even. You know what? Honestly, if you've seen Haunting of Hill House and you really, really liked it, and you're like, I'm gonna watch Haunting of Bly Manor, don't. I'm not gonna I'm giving it a not recommend. I'm giving it a pass. It doesn't have anything to do with Hill House. So even if there is a third season of a haunting of Jacob's Ladder or haunting of, I don't know,
It's gonna be a
the
haunting
Empire
of my
State
ass.
Building or whatever, yeah, haunting of your ass. The Mexican edition. You know, like, if there is a third it won't have anything to do with the first two seasons, so you can just skip season 2 completely. I can't say I'm positive or that I'm sure, but considering how season 2 and season 1 relate, that's all I can think of that season 3 and season 2 and season 1 relate. Though, who knows? Writers can always tie everything together. And should they tie season 3 together, I should have said this at the beginning. Maybe I should have just jump to season 3 review, and in that we'll say maybe you need to go back and watch season 2. We were wrong, but right now, don't bother. Don't bother with Haunting of Bly Manor. Really, I didn't get really anything from it.
Well, I just found myself being bored.
Yeah, boring. Just too bad. The house is kind of cool looking. There's that. I mean, if you're into architecture and haunted house type looking things, you got that at least. But anyways, comment down below what you thought of Haunting of Bly Manor, and let us know. Are we completely off our rockers, or are we wrong? Anyways, love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.
Yeah. Yep,
what he said.